What's up, everyone? Welcome back.
Hello.
Happy Monday. Today, we're talking about, I guess, innovation and taking action.
Love it.
Last week, we talked about gaining confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And gaining confidence is great, and doing all those things to set you up for success, or at least set up your mindset for success is great.
But
if you don't take action, if you don't innovate, if you're a business,
right,
if you don't constantly try to actually progress in a proactive way, not just learning about it.
Right.
I'm way guilty of that.
I think a lot of people are. They have all these thoughts and all these notes, but they do nothing with it.
Yeah. And then you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
Is what I'm trying to say. And I'm guilty of it. When I had my gym, I read, I don't even know how many business books. Dozens. But I would never put anything into practice until it was like way too late.
Right. And then it just takes up brain space that's not necessary because you're not using it.
Yeah. So something that I see in the hair industry, and this, where my mindset, I'm sure it applies across everything, but where my mindset is that we'll see these salons that are successful until they're not, because they do the same things and they just continue to think that those things work. And it doesn't matter how well something works, you must be open to change, or you risk that slow, painful sort of demise where you're like, what is happening in my business? This was amazing 10 years ago. Right. Well, right. But you haven't changed it in 10 years. We were recently out to a restaurant who obviously I'm not going to name. They've had the same menu forever. It's kind of boring. It feels uninspired.
Right.
And I don't know that I really need to go back. I might go, I might drop in for cocktail, hang at the bar, meet somebody, grab a drink with you after work or something. But other than that, it's just the same thing. Yeah, it's sort of stale. So,
and the service is decent, but it's not anything that's like over the top.
Right. There's absolutely nothing that stands out. There's nothing that I can't get somewhere else that's better. And
we generally order the same thing anyway, and let me tell you, it's not even always the same.
Right.
That's part of it.
Yeah, it's sort of
like, oh, okay, this changed.
Yeah.
So the menu didn't change, but you're not offering it the same way or cooking it the same way. So we left kind of just like, whatever.
What I want to do is I want to tell a couple of stories.
I love stories. So
the first story, everybody listening probably is familiar with. Maybe you don't know the details, but I'm going to run through some of them, and I promise I'll keep it brief. But we're going to talk about Blockbuster.
This is a good one.
So Blockbuster, when they started out, do you know what their primary source of income was? If you had to guess.
Renting out movies?
Late fees.
Oh, okay.
That was their business.
Interesting.
So initially what Blockbuster had done, and I don't remember this was before me, is they charged $19.99 a month. And you got 3 VHS, if you remember those movies. I do. And a $1 a day late fee. So they were getting your $20. You were getting 3 movies for the month.
And you could keep them for the month?
You could keep them for, I don't know.
Okay, for whatever period of time.
But after that time, it was $1 a day for a late fee.
So people would probably have $100 monthly memberships to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I was always late returning movies. Dang it.
And they loved that. They loved it because that added to their revenue, and that was their biggest chunk of income. So fast forward a little bit, customer preferences starts to shift to streaming. Right? We all know what happens, but let's talk about this a little bit. Blockbuster absolutely refused to innovate, and they stayed on their path. They were like, this is what people want. I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere that they did focus groups, and they were like, our people enjoy coming into the stores. That's part of the experience. Okay. More people prefer not doing that, though. They miss that whole part. So they stay their path. In the year 2000, Netflix offered to sell to Blockbuster for $50 million. So they were like, hey, Blockbuster, we're Netflix. We're the future. You can buy us for $50 million.
And for those of you who don't remember, this is when Netflix, I think, was mailing their DVDs. That was sort of their business model at the time, I think.
Yes, I believe they had the technology in place they were streaming, but
they were doing kind of door to door. You didn't have to go to the store. You were able to grab it in your mailbox, put it back in, and they'd send you your next one on your list.
Yeah, the DVD in the envelope, red envelope sort of deal. So anyways, Blockbuster refused and laughed him out of the room. The whole plan there was the idea behind that, by the way, was that Netflix would take over Blockbuster's online division. So they would keep going with what they were doing because it had worked to that point, but they were going to explore other areas. Blockbuster said no. In 2006, so 6 years later, they introduced a program that allowed online customers to return a digital rental to a store, or I'm sorry, not digital. You don't have to return digital. Return a rental to a store in exchange for a free rental. It was really popular because people liked the free rental, but it ended up losing Blockbuster $2 per transaction.
Oh,
they didn't think it out.
Probably big money.
Right. At its height, and I don't know what year this was, Blockbuster had 9,000 physical stores. By 2011, they were down to 600.
Whoa.
Yeah, talk about a fall.
Yeah.
And then eventually, Blockbuster falls behind. They can't pay their debts, and Dish Network, I believe it's called, buys the company. The story ends. So there you go. Blockbuster. And you might be like, how does that's such a big company, right? So if big companies that have massive teams of, different divisions and things, marketing and running test groups and doing all this A/B testing.
Imagine what a small business, how quickly you can just
Correct. That was why I wanted to tell the story of Blockbuster. I have another story to tell in a little bit, but there are a million of those examples.
Which is why we have a lot of podcasts, I feel like, on innovation and pivoting. And as uncomfortable as that can be, it's why we talk about it so often, because it is extremely important so that your business keeps thriving and that it doesn't start dying before you realize it. And then now you have such an uphill battle that some people it's not worth it. They just close.
Yeah, we've seen people just give up.
And I don't blame you, because if you've done it for so long and it was successful with minimal effort, well, now it's so much more effort, as if you're starting from scratch, or actually probably way behind. You're like, that's a lot of work, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm uncomfortable. So you're like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, correct. So there are just like exactly what you said. So oftentimes you're like, I don't need this, or I don't need this podcast episode because my business is doing well. Your business is doing well today. What we're saying is you need to pay attention. And this is something that I would beg people to do, is to pay attention to what things you can change, or at least to have it in the back of your head so that when you do notice something, and I'm telling you, that's not a good place. That reactive positioning is not a good place to run your business from, because often by the time you see things, it's too late.
Right.
But if you're going to do the bare minimum, I would say it's to pay attention to what changes you can make in the future, should you have to. Mm-hmm. But like I'm saying, I would encourage you to make those changes before you have to. And before we run through some other stuff, I do think that oftentimes in this industry, I know, like, you don't want to upset your clientele.
Right. Or your staff.
Or your staff. Exactly. So,
or you're afraid that it could, or what it would do, because you've created all these scenarios in your head that none of them will be true, and you've already kind of decided for everybody else.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Don't decide for people.
No.
And definitely sometimes you will upset portions of your clientele. You will upset portions of your staff. We've had stuff in the past. We've made changes to our business that I'm sure upset clients, and they've left. But guess what? We've replaced them with clients that like what we're doing. We've had staff leave because they didn't like what we're doing. Well, guess what? We have staff now that love what we're doing.
Right. And that's part of keeping your mindset focused on the positive things of what these changes will bring on, and not the little bits of negative that happen, because it's so easy to focus on the couple negatives and you're missing all of the stuff, that opportunities that are about to come your way.
That's massive, because oftentimes it's the negative people, and it's the people that were going to fucking complain no matter what you did. You could be like, hey guys, my haircuts are now free, and when you come in, you get a free car. And someone would be like, yeah, but what kind of car? You know what I mean? Like, somebody's going to bitch about it. Or they'll be like, great, I have to pay the taxes though. There's something.
So when we switched to we do a lot of our retail now online. It just makes more sense. on so many levels, which means we have affiliate links through our website. And I remember a client saying, well, wait a minute. Now who pays for shipping? And I'm like, I don't know. You'd have to go on. My point is that they won't be here.
Yeah, some companies will offer shipping at a certain amount, so they cover it. Some won't, so you'll cover it.
The point is this is where it's going to be. You can order from other companies. You don't have to use my online affiliate links. It's just, this is the way we're moving. We're going to keep a very small stock here. But I was like, that's your concern. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, sure. and to that person, it's a valid concern because their cost is going up. But at the same time, who's like... People,
and we're not going to not move in our direction.
Correct. For one person that doesn't want to pay shipping.
Right.
Interesting. So they don't realize that they're paying shipping either way. It's just we didn't call it shipping.
Correct.
We called it, this is what this product cost. Because you can often get it through the affiliate link.
Let's go back to people that always complain either way. This client...
I love those people. ...mainly
buys her products from a whole nother company. Not even what we were selling. So it didn't even actually affect her.
Amazing.
Which is even funnier, but it would be very easy when you're making a change for that one pushback or the few pushbacks to almost make you start to...
Pause and
be like, yes, question like what you're doing. When are they valid? Does it matter? Like this person doesn't even buy retail from me. I know where she goes. So it did not matter to her.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes people give feedback and I don't even listen to it at all because it's irrelevant. I'm not looking for feedback from you.
We had a lady at a pool one day tell us what we should be doing and I'm like, this is hilarious.
You're not on my board. We don't have like a board of directors or anything. No. It's me and you, but you're not on my board. You don't have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
You don't own any percentage of this business.
And I didn't ask.
I was just letting you know this is how we're going to go. All right, so real quick, let's run through. Here's a little list, right, of companies that failed to innovate, and I'm just going to list them.
Cool.
And we don't need to get into the details unless something specific pops out. But the first one here on this very random list is MySpace.
Oh, geez.
Right? Toys R Us, I think we know that. Mm-hmm. They just didn't move online fast enough, I believe, is what their issue was. And they stayed in that physical location of thing. And I used to love going to Toys R Us when I was younger, obviously. And then when we had Marley, our oldest, because they were still around. So
I remember the commercial, Toys R Us kid. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah. Anyway, so they refused to move on with anything, and they ended up in 2018 having $5 billion in debt.
Oof.
Yeah. Pan Am, which was a big airline company that you probably forgot about.
Yep, I did.
They shut down $1 billion in debt. Let's see. Pets.com. So I've read about Pets.com before, and you might think like, wait, isn't that Chewy? Pets.com was actually an interesting one because they were too early to the party.
Oh.
So that's
rough.
They didn't hold. They were like, charge! And they had the right idea, but people weren't ready for it yet. And then Chewy, I believe, and Amazon and everything came along after.
Gotcha.
Polaroid. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Radio Shack was another one.
Oh, Radio Shack. Okay.
That collapsed. BlackBerry.
Like the phone?
Yep.
Okay.
BlackBerry failed to innovate when it came to their ecosystems. It was to do with the hardware, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Borders.
Bookstore?
Yeah.
This is fun for me. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Borders Cafe. I remember that.
Bookstores.
I go to my library.
Which is interesting because Barnes & Noble, I don't know what they're up to. I'll have to look into this, but they're, according to this, I'm just glancing. I had this list ahead of time, but I didn't read it. Mm-hmm. I just pulled it up from the webs. But Barnes & Noble, for some reason, has been resilient, and they are planning on opening 30 new locations in 2023. So that's what this article says. So I'll have to go see what they're
doing that makes it still relevant.
Let's see. Tower Records.
Makes sense.
They got beat up. And that was the last one. So there was a few companies. Let's talk about why Kodak should have paid attention.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture.
This Kodak one is really interesting for me because it's tech. It's also really interesting because it's history. This story starts in 1888.
Wow.
So that's when Kodak was founded.
Okay.
1888. What they did really well was they brought affordable camera solutions to the market when big production companies in general were the only people who could afford cameras.
Okay.
So what they did was they made it normal for you and I to have a camera, everyday people.
Gotcha.
Really cool stuff. They absolutely led the industry for like the entire 20th century. In 1968, they held 80% of the market. That's fucking insane.
I know.
Can you imagine if you had 80% of all the hair market? You'd be turning away business.
That's
There's no
crazy.
way for you to do 80% of all the
Your
people's hair.
success would be so beyond your wildest dreams.
Well, that's where it comes in. That's their demise, because now they have 80% of the market and they go like this. Well, we're fat and happy. Why would we change anything? Why would we shake it up? So Kodak adopted the razor and blades business plan. So the idea behind that is that a company would first sell you a razor, right? Small profit margin. But after buying the razor and using it, you'll have to purchase the consumables now, which is the razor blades,
right?
The replacement cartridges, whatever you want to call them. And you have to buy those over and over again. And guess what they sell those as? High profit margin.
Gotcha.
Probably cost them not even close to a penny to make a blade. Sell it to you for $20.
Yeah, at least now.
It's wild. So their plan was to sell cameras at affordable prices for small profit margins so that everyone could have a camera.
And then the film.
The consumable then becomes the film.
Gotcha.
And the printing sheets and the other accessories that they sold at a really high profit margin.
Okay.
Right? Business is good until 1975. This dude named Steve Sasson, I believe.
Okay.
He is credited with inventing the technology for the digital camera. Oh. See where this shit's going?
Yeah.
Kodak didn't.
Film starts to become obsolete.
He worked for Kodak at the time.
Oh.
They had him. He took the technology to his bosses. Okay? And they laughed at him and ignored it. I actually think, hold on, there's a quote somewhere from something that one of the people had said in the meeting, and it was, I don't see it here in this article. So it was something along the lines of, Steve, don't show that to anyone. That's how people end up shooting themselves in the foot. They thought it was a stupid idea.
Oh, geez.
Because at the time, you have to understand how technology... I mean, you don't have to understand, but you should if you're in business. You have to understand how technology works. When it's first introduced to the market, it's at a higher price because they haven't solved all the issues about manufacturing and how to get supply chains for the things they need and et cetera, et cetera. So you have a high cost product in a digital camera. They used to be expensive. Now everyone has one in their phone.
Right.
So, but this was important because they didn't pay attention to the technology. They laughed at him. That guy, Steve, he took the technology to a company called Fujifilms, who ran with the technology. Kodak, again, was like, you're dumb. We're an American company. Nobody would ever go to Fujifilms, who was a, I think, Japanese company, for that. They're not going to do it.
Until they did.
They spent the next 10 years arguing, Kodak did, that film was better. The whole time losing a ton of market space and all that money. By the time they tried to implement digital, because they did, it was just too late.
Yeah.
In 2012, Kodak filed for bankruptcy.
Oh.
I believe they got an injection of money. Someone owns part of them here and someone owns part of them, I want to say, in the United Kingdom, but I'm not exactly sure.
Jeez.
But they're not what they were.
Right.
And they're not what they were because someone came to them with an idea and said, here's the future. And they said, why would we want that?
Yeah. Oh,
Steve. I don't know where Steve is today, but probably rich, or his
probably
family's
on his
rich.
yacht.
So those are two stories that I hope resonate for people because, again, if these massive companies...
With teams. This is I think, like, Think about it. They have
about
all the resources, tons of money to get it, and they're failing.
Oh, you're talking about millions, and in a lot of these cases, billions of dollars.
So imagine us small business owners. We don't have those resources. We don't have those teams. So it's really important for us to try to always be looking to the future and getting ideas and being inspired. So you're always kind of, even if they're baby steps, it's better than no steps at all.
I think you hit it right, the nail on the head right there, because you don't have teams. Why not? There's a good question. Do you have somebody you can go to? Do you have a mentor? Again, I never try to like push us.
Yeah.
But it's our show, so fuck it. Do you have someone like us that's been through a bunch of stuff that is willing to, I will give you the entire answers to the test.
Yeah. We've already fallen flat here, there, wherever, and then climbed back up, and here we are. So
exactly. And I have people that I talk to about things, because I'm sure at certain points you're going to make mistakes still. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business. No. So we've had this current business for what are we just past 3 years?
We're at almost 4.
Almost 4 years? Okay. Yeah. So we're at almost 4 years. Before that, we had a business for 10 years, another one plus 10 years. So we're at like 28 years of business ownership.
And we're still learning.
Stuff changes all the time.
It does. But
it's not enough to just say that. Like,
right.
I'm keeping up with trends or something. So I'm keeping up with business. No, you're not. That's the technical side. The business side, you're not keeping up with at all.
And what you like, even back to what you're saying with the mentorship, you could learn from our mistakes. If we've already had them, we can tell you, well, when our experience, when we did this is what came out. You can still make your own decisions, but you're like, oh, I didn't realize that even was a thing. Like, that's the part that you get when you have a mentor that can help you not have to endure all of the stresses they did, because they can look towards the new future with their experiences.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. And again, back to the team thing, you need a mentor. You also need people around you. So if you don't have, like, things come up, right? So we talk about foundations a lot. If you don't have your network laid out, you're going to struggle. Right. So, and that's basic team. Like, you need a lawyer, you need an accountant, you need an accountant that is willing to like meet with you and talk with you and strategize and plan
and help you
your business for the year. Yeah.
And look out for you. We have that.
Yes, we do. You need a team, and you're not probably, I don't want to ever be like, you're never going to have this, but in the hair industry, I don't picture a salon getting so big that they have, billions of dollars in marketing teams and all this stuff. That's the industry. This is people get confused here too. The hair industry is massive. I don't know the number that it's worth. Mm-hmm. The majority of that though is product.
Right.
Because I'll see things that are like, if the hair industry is worth X, where's our portion of that? Okay, Sally, look, I know that you cut hair and you're probably great, but you don't make product. That's where the money is. Right. And if you do make product, you probably, and there's nothing wrong with this, it's probably like a white label sort of situation. Right. You're still buying product from those companies.
Yes.
Like it's
not yours.
It's not yours. Yeah. You didn't hire teams of chemists and run through, testing and all this stuff to get approved and figure out packaging and manufacturing. That's a whole other thing that I feel oftentimes, or I think oftentimes people feel entitled to a portion of that. Product sales it's a different thing completely. Mm-hmm. You're not really included in that. I mean, you can sell products and you can get your commission, but you don't even
like make your salon brand somehow. I used to think this, like, I'm picking these products, it's going to make my salon that much better. And like it doesn't fucking matter. Focus on your salon and what you do in there. Either you cut hair, you color hair, whatever that is, that's what you should be marketing.
And what Jen's saying, and I agree 100%, and don't get us wrong, like you want good products that you align with. Yeah, but if you're
what we do endorse, we align with completely.
Yeah, we pick our products, we're getting a little off track here, but we pick our products based on our company mission, our core principles, those sort of things. And the products happen to be good. But I think that most products are probably good nowadays.
Yeah.
I still see people arguing online about, don't get your shampoo from CVS. Look, Sally, once again, sit down. If somebody's budget only allows them, you be thankful they're coming to you for their haircuts.
Correct.
And guide them the best that you can. But
correct.
If somebody needs to, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but it's my show, so I'll do what I want. if somebody's budget, you like, again, you should just be thankful that
somebody
they came
can't
to you
afford
for
a $30 shampoo,
right.
then help
they
them
can't
with
afford it.
where they're going. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
All right. So that was really it. I think people need to understand that you have to take action. And if you're sitting there chuckling or just being like, I don't need this or whatever, you're going to find out at some point. And I hope you don't. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that you're the 0.0001% business that just does nothing and makes it. You know
Otherwise,
what I mean?
like I said, even baby steps are better than no steps.
And I'll tell you too, you might stay stagnant and complacent for a long time.
Yeah. Some people can ride it out for a good amount.
Decades.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, this is too, like you said in the beginning, this is too much work now to progress because you haven't done anything. So your business needs a major overhaul.
And when you open your eyes, it's so different that you're like, I don't even know how to live in this world.
Right. Right. So you got to take action. You got to take steps. If you think something's going to make you uncomfortable or stress you out, get some guidance, but also you don't need much guidance there. If it's making you uncomfortable, odds are that's what you should be checking out. Now, if you make a mistake, if you refuse to have a mentor, right? Because you can do everything on your own and it's totally fine because I was there for a long time, and you make a mistake, you can go back. Now you've learned from that mistake.
Yes.
And what I would challenge you to do is to teach someone else so that they don't make that mistake.
Correct. I love that.
All right, we can end the show.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. So I want to issue a challenge. I want to challenge you, listeners, to explore new ways to structure how you do business. You don't have to change or act on anything.
Just explore.
Just explore it as a thought experiment. Just what could I do?
Yeah.
And that exercise, I think, might expose you to some ideas, and it might prompt you to have some thoughts that you otherwise wouldn't. And then you might have a holy shit moment where you have an epiphany and you're like, I totally could do this, and this would help my business make more money.
Love it.
If you do that, let us know. Would love to hear about it.
Awesome.
If not, a review would be great because it would help push the show out. Appreciate you. And we'll talk next week. I think we're talking about education next week.
Yeah.
The future of education.
Yes.
In our eyes. Dun, dun, dun. All right, we're out. Happy Monday.
Bye.
Bye.